Hi, everybody, and welcome to Locked On Brewers. I'm your host, Chuck Freeman. Corbin Burnes delivers big time. 2 poor performances. He put it on himself. He says, I got to be better, and he was. Brewers win it 7-1 over Arizona. We'll talk about that next here on Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome to Locked On Brewers. I'm your host, Chuck Freeman, sportscaster at WIBA Radio in Madison. I do their morning sports updates. I also work for AP Radio. I've been covering the Brewers for over 40 years. And like you, I am a Brewer fan as well. I have lived in the state of Wisconsin all my life and just hoping and praying that this start is for real this time. We've been here before. Brewers off to an 8-3 start. And after losing, getting shut out on Monday night, roared back with a 7-1 win over Arizona. Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Again, if you're just joining us for a first time, follow me on Twitter, Chuck Freeman, FREIMUND, or drop us a little comment on YouTube in the comments section. And while you're on YouTube, subscribe. Hit the subscribe button and then hit that little bell. That's going to alert you every time that we drop a podcast because we're here after every game. Yes, the Brewers are 7 days a week, and we are here on Locked On Brewers. Great to be a part of it and providing great content on the Milwaukee Brewers during the week and on weekend games as well. We got to start, though, with the bad news of the day, and that's Brandon Woodruff. He went on the injured list, a 15-day injured list, because inflammation in his shoulder. He did not bounce back like he thought he was going to pitch tomorrow, and he came in today. I'm still not feeling well with that shoulder. And he said it might have been a couple of days, but who knows? I was not going to waste a couple of starts or waste a roster spot. So they decided to put him on and be safe this early in the season, put him on the 15-day injured list and call up Jansen Junk in. He presumably is going to pitch on Wednesday. That's all indications are. Nothing firm from Craig yet as of when that game ended on Tuesday night after the final pitch, but I assume that Jansen's going to start. But Woodruff, obviously, big loss. He's pitched great in both of his starts so far. Looked good on there. Really a solid person. I've enjoyed covering him since he's been up here since 2018. Of course, remember the Dodgers, you remember him hitting that home run and how he came through on the mound for them a few times in the postseason when we didn't know really what to expect out of Woody, but now he's going to go on the injured list. And we'll see. The big fella from Tupelo, Mississippi is going to hopefully get the inflammation down on his shoulder so he won't have to miss any more starts in the future. And this is not going to be one of those things that linger on. Remember, he had an ankle injury that took some time off of him last season. So we'll tell you about Junk coming up here a little bit later on. We preview tomorrow's game. So again, hit us up on YouTube. Follow us as always, because we're going to be here every day on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. And this is a game, guys, that didn't look like the Brewers were going to do much offensively. They were no hit through 6 innings. Merrill Kelly was dazzling them. I mean, the Brewers couldn't do nothing against him. And then came the 7th in the scoreless game, and the Brewers broke through and put a run on the board, tacked on 4 more runs, made it 5-0, and gave Corbin Burnes some offensive support. Willy Adames. Say, hey, Willy can play. Willy Adames, that is. His 3rd home run of the year, broke the scoreless tie in the top of the 7th inning because it would look like it'd be one of those games that Corbin Burnes was going to pitch his heart out and not get credited with anything. He had 77 pitches through 7 innings, 1 hit, had pitched the minimal, and then gave a couple of hits, came back for the 8th inning. I was surprised Craig had him come back for the 8th inning, but they did, and he gave a couple of hits, worked out of it, but still, 8 solid innings, 8 strikeouts out of Corbin Burnes, especially since the way he pitched poorly in his previous 2 outings. That was a relief for some of us out there. I know some of you were worried, like, oh my God, what's the deal with Burnes? The contract thing in the offseason. You knew after the end of the 1st inning, after he was throwing BBs in the 1st inning, that the old Corbin Burnes was back and he was great all game long. And then the offense came back to support him. As I mentioned, the 5-run seventh, they chased Merrill Kelly, who no-hit the Brewers through 6. Adames straightaway center field gets the Brewers on the board. They tack on a few more. Mike Brosseau had a 2-run double in that inning. 5 runs, plenty enough. Kelly gets chased, and the Brewers go on to the win. Later in the game, Rowdy Tellez homered, pulled one down the right field line, his second of the season. And then Brosseau added a home run in the 9th inning for a little insurance. 7-1, bullpen gives up a run in the 9th inning. Bullpen has that scoreless streak end, but who cares? You won the game, and you won in going away fashion when it looked like it was going to be one of those games where you weren't going to score. It was one of those patent Brewer offensive freezes that have lasted for days and weeks, it seems, but it wasn't. They had not scored a run in Arizona since spring training. Somebody said on the broadcast tonight, but broke through with the Adames home run in the 7th inning. So that was great to see. And then they added 2 more home runs the night. Tonight's show brought to you in part by HelloFresh. HelloFresh is the title sponsor of this show. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. Go to HelloFresh.com/MLB60. Use the promo code MLB60 for 60% off plus free shipping. That is HelloFresh. We're going to talk about the starting pitchers coming up here in a little bit for tomorrow's wrap-up, an afternoon game, which is a relief to some of you out there because I know you got to get up. Me too, get up early. But, hey, these games have been flying by, these first 2 games of this series. We get done right around 11 o'clock, and that's not so bad. Again, I don't want to put a timer on the game, but I know a lot of us don't want to stay up to 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning on those West Coast games. Tonight's show is also brought to you in part by So Rare. So Rare is a revolutionary fantasy baseball game and marketplace, transforming fans into owners with officially licensed digital cards featuring players from across all 30 MLB teams. Unlike fantasy platforms, other baseball platforms, So Rare managers truly own their fantasy experience, collecting, buying, selling, and competing with other player cards against global opponents to win epic prizes. Win or lose, you still own your own cards, and there's no cost to play. The more you win, the more you advance, collecting more powerful cards and winning prizes like game tickets, merchandise, signed jerseys, VIP experiences, So Rare scarcity cards, MLB game weeks. They happen twice weekly, a span of a 3 or 4 days cycle. And at the end of the week, you have a chance to win of all these prizes if you're at the top of your leaderboard or you're sitting on top of that leaderboard. Head to sorare.com/lockedon. That's SoRare, SORARE.com to draft your team of free player cards, set your lineup, and start competing today to win epic awards. Again, that's sorare.com/lockedon to start playing today. All right, let's go through the lineup here today. We got to mention Christian Neal, first batter of the game, called out on strikes, and I tweeted this out. I'm tired of him looking at strike 3 on the inside corner. I don't know what he's looking at, but I feel like he's done it often this year. 3 strikeouts today, went 1 for 5, 3 Ks, batting average down to 220. Willy went 1 for 4. Hit the home run to break the seal in the 7th inning. Rowdy Tellez 1 for 3, raising his average to 161. He hit that solo home run. Brian cooling off a little bit. He went 0 for 3. He's down to 303, but he was just so hot for so long. Garrett Mitchell went 2 for 4. Victor Caratini went 1 for 2. He drew a walk. Bryce Terang 0 for 4, down to 267. But man, how much of us are loving the Bryce Terang's defense at second base? Up the middle, the range to his left, the range to his right, turning double plays like he's a 10-year pro out there. In fact, that whole defense has just been great. You look around, I know Adames muffed a couple last night, but still, that defense is one of the reasons why the bullpen pitching has such numbers, because the defense, when you have defense like that, I don't remember the last time the Brewers had played this well on defense. I am loving watching them flash leather out there, and especially our rookie second baseman, what he's doing out there. Again, the old pro is acting. I don't care if he's batting 267 over tonight, man. He's saving runs over there at second base. I love him. Keep running him out there and don't take him out. Colton Wong, who? Joey Wiemer took 0 for 3. He's been a little slump since he hit that 3-run homer last week against the Mets last Wednesday. I feel like he's been sliding ever since. He struck out, took an 0 for today. And Mike Brosseau, Craig puts him in the starting lineup tonight, plays third base because Anderson played right field. And Anderson has been doing so well defensively at third base as well. Brosseau 2 for 4, the big hit in the 7th inning, and also the tack-on home run later in the game. And the Brewers go on to win. 7-1, raise the record to 8-3. I see the Cardinals also won tonight. At least they had the lead late. I know Nolan Arenado, I saw he had a 3-run home run in that game. Tonight's show brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel, grand slams, no hitters, double plays are back. And there's no better place than on all the FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. That's because right now new customers can step up to the plate with a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon, sign up, place your first bet, and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win. Hope you bet on the Brewers today. They were a -20 against the Arizona Diamondbacks. The line fluctuated a little bit, went down. I think it started off at 130, went down to 120. But the Brewers have not lost back-to-back games this year. Don't miss out on your chance to get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and sign up. FanDuel, the official partner of Major League Baseball. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers. Also want to tell you about, was there something else I was going to, I got all these papers flying all over the place. No, I guess that was it. Want to tell you about tomorrow's starters. Again, an afternoon game, 2:40 out in Phoenix, 97 degrees the last 2 days, night games. So got to believe it'll probably be over 100 in a day game. Maybe they'll have the roof closed tomorrow. Although they say they don't open up the roof out there until September, but I think a day game, it's going to be over 100. They might be shutting the roof. I always think it's funny that they shut the roof to keep the heat out. Down at in Arizona, we shut the roof to keep the cold out at AmFam Field and here in the north. Dre Jameson makes the start for Arizona tomorrow. Former first-round pick back in 2019. He's pitched well out of the bullpen this year. He's going to make the spot start because Zach Davies has got an oblique issue, so he's going to miss his start today. But Dre Jameson on the hill, making his first start of the year. Jansen Junk. He's taken Woodruff's spot in the rotation, making his Brewer debut. Last started the game early August, I believe August 3rd of last year for the Angels. Pitched well, I believe went 5 innings or so. 4-pitch pitcher, was working on the splitter with the Angels organization, and then they told him, no, don't be doing that. He was having problems gripping the baseball. But when he was picked up by the Brewers, they're working on the splitter with him, so he's back to being a 4-pitch pitcher. From what I've seen of him at spring training, weak contact. One game he retired, I believe 8 of 10 batters. Give us a spring training, a lot of weak contact, and I guess that is his MO. Jansen Junk on the hill for the Brewers. A couple other notes. Jackson Chourio, walk-off home run for the Biloxi Shuckers. 2-run shot. Jackson Chourio, his second home run of the game, by the way, a walk-off blast. And Biloxi went on to win that game. So good for him. Jackson Chourio, 19. I know some of you say Jackson should be up here way, way too early for him to be up here. That's for sure. Yelich did DH tonight. Maybe they got to sit him. I know he had the 3 hits on Sunday, but last 2 nights again have not been good. You know, again, looking at called strike 3, that's not very impressive. I don't like seeing that. So that's where they stand with Yelich. We'll see with the afternoon game tomorrow. And they're facing a right-handed pitcher. So chances are he's probably going to be in lineup. But Jansen Junk, I'll be honest, I think the Brewers need to bring their offense tomorrow. Because with a guy who's untested like that, he's got some good stuff, making his Brewer debut. And, you know, sometimes when Brewers The Brewers have had guys make their debut. They've been fantastic in that first game. Every game after that, that's been an issue. But I'd like to get some offense to back him, and we'll see how they use him. How many innings? Maybe they just pitch him a couple innings, see how things go, and then get to the bullpen and let him, just see how far they can go with junk. Arizona's a good hitting team, young baseball team. They've struggled for several years there, but it appears that they are back and playing some good baseball once again. And, they just took 3 from the Dodgers before taking the one game on Monday night, and the Brewers bounced back. Yeah, coming back and winning on Tuesday night was huge. You don't want to go on a prolonged slump on the West Coast because, teams sometimes go to the West Coast and they bury themselves. You got a big series with San Diego coming up this weekend, and you know how good the Padres are. Seattle's going to be decent again this year. But these are 3 difficult teams. Nothing's easy in baseball. None of these games are easy. So taking 2 or 3 and winning another series, that would be just fantastic for this team. Winning another series and going on to San Diego for a Thursday night game. So it's Dre Jameson going for Arizona and Jansen Junk, 2 guys who are making spot starts. And the Brandon Woodruff news we'll be talking about that here in the next several weeks, give you updates on how he's coming along. Hopefully that shoulder inflammation goes down. A strength of this team, obviously, is the Brewers pitching staff, and they can't afford to have guys go on extended trips on the injured list. So hopefully there's nothing structural there, just some inflammation, and get Woody back in this rotation, because obviously I don't have to tell you that he's important if the Brewers want to go on and win this division. All right, we'll talk to you tomorrow. Tomorrow, a little bit later on in the night, we'll get the podcast finished up. And, if you want to know more about fantasy baseball, listen to Matt and Dom after my podcast. I appreciate you making the first listen every day. We've had a lot of attention on this podcast. Went to the Brewer game on Sunday, ran into a lot of fans. I get a lot of people on Twitter who've been talking about it. And I appreciate all the support. I've been doing sports talk in the Milwaukee area for a long, long time. And I know this team like the back of my hand. And I enjoy covering them, and I enjoy watching them. And I'm going to do my darndest every day, give you guys the best information about that team and analysis on this team. I know you might not always agree with me. I certainly know that. But we're going to have fun this year. And especially when our baseball team is playing like it is, that makes it doubly fun. But if you want to listen more about fantasy baseball, listen to Matt and Dom. They give you the best fantasy draft strategies. I just suck when it comes to knowing about fantasy baseball. I'm just terrible at it. I could tell you to draft one guy, and the other guy would be, I'll tell you to choose A, and B would be the right selection. But listen to Matt and Dom. Find Locked On Fantasy Baseball wherever you get your podcasts, and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Hey, how about it? Brewers get to a 7-1 win in Arizona to even up that series. We'll talk to you coming up on Wednesday night after Game 3 in Arizona. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Hopefully, Junk can give us a good one. Need one from him going into San Diego. So long, everybody.